It was quite clear right from the beginning. There were two things that I wanted to get out of this event. One is that everybody should become aware of the urgency of the reforms that need to be done. Draghi report came out a year ago. The fact that it's not being implemented fast enough, it's very worrying because we do not have time. So the sense of urgency must be the same that the one we had when we faced the pandemic or when we faced the Russian invasion of Ukraine. This is the same type of crisis. Just because we don't see bombs falling on buildings or we don't see hospital beds full of sick people doesn't mean that the drama is not the same. We run is essential risk. Draghi said that on the first page of the report. The essential risk means the European project can die if we don't change quickly. So first, urgency. Secondly is that the Renew Group has been doing this effort of keeping the Draghi report alive almost alone. So we call on the other pro-European political groups, we call on the media, we call on professional associations, we call on civil society to be as vocal as us, as urgent as us, as dramatic as us, and saying that if we don't reform quickly, we are in very deep trouble very, very soon. So those two messages, I think, passed very, very clearly, and we had the chance of having the Executive Vice President of the Commission closing the session, saying basically the same things. So we even have the political deciders with this will to change things, to reform things, and what they lack probably is the pressure, be it from outside, public opinion and media, be it from inside their own partners and our own political groups, monitoring and forcing them what they called having a nice pressure to do things. We showed it quantitatively today, and the answer is 1.12, because there is 11.2% of the measures which have been implemented. All the rest are still to be implemented. Of course, it's not a plan that you would implement in a single year, so I'm not saying that the pace is going to remain that slow, but it's not very promising that you keep taking the priority out of the implementation of the Draghi report and giving it to other issues which are important, which may be urgent, but are not as priority as the implementation of those reforms. So one of the reasons why we did this event, and we probably repeat this type of pressure, and that we'll have this index of implementation publicly available, and that it will have tools to monitor the implementation of this event, so that everybody, media included, can see exactly at each time how much of it is being implemented and put pressure on the political deciders or whoever is delaying the thing. I think this was, from that point of view, I think it was a good step today. Well, in a way, yes, because what the companies are doing in Europe is determined and limited by what the environment, the fiscal environment, the regulatory environment, the environmental environment, pardon the repetition, that everything in which they operate limits them, limits their growth, including the barriers within the single market itself, which, as we've seen in some of the presentations here, represents almost as much as the most exorbitant tariffs that you could find. So if the European Union had been much faster to remove those barriers to single market, if it had been much faster to reduce the price of energy, which does not fall because of the very complicated pricing structures in many European countries, if it had been much faster to integrate telecommunications, transports and energy throughout the European Union, European companies would have much more opportunities to grow than they've had so far. I'll pick one, which is an easy picking, price of energy. We are paying 2 to 3 times as much for the energy as our American competitors are doing. It's a source of uncompetitiveness which is easy to remove. And the second is all the barriers to single market. If they can be removed, that in itself can represent an extra 2 to 3% GDP in the European Union. It's a huge difference. One is easy to do. One is has a very large impact. So either one, take your pick.